What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, video that I promised is finally here. How to file an FBI complaint. This is going to be specifically for cyber crimes. So, before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like button, share this video. I'm sure many will have questions, so feel free to leave them in the comments section. And feel free to become a member of the LLC. Today, we have some great content there, y'all. And I posted up the full lawsuit for Fluffy Fat Joseph and even 2 pages of summary that I was able to do. It's 157 pages long, but that is for the LLC readers. So feel free to become a member so that you can enjoy the great lawsuit filings and information that I promised my supporters that I will put there, that especially those lawsuits that are not easily accessible online, like Tyler Perry's lawsuit against him. I was able to just pull up, but no, I had to go to Pacer to get Fat Joseph. So and his is just deplorable. I can't honestly say if it's worse than P. Diddy or not. And I'm gonna be honest, I have not read P. Diddy's lawsuit or his criminal complaint. The only way I've been keeping up with P. Diddy is with Night and Day Cartoon Network, which I am going to be doing a video on today as well. Yay! So I have some videos that I'm going to be posting out and premiering, just so that you guys can check this out and get. Some people are not getting notifications, so. And you guys know how my week is. I have a regular job, so it's really hard for me to do content every day during the week like I really want to. So if I go a couple days without posting, please know that it is, because I have a regular job. So either way, let's get to this. This is going to be kind of an overview on how to file a complaint. This is with the Internet Crime Complaint Center for the FBI. But I want to kind of go over some back information, just some background on what they particularly look at when they decide to, receive a complaint and initiate an investigation. It has to go through some sort of approval process. Every complaint is not always investigated. So it has to fall within the scope of the purview of the agency. And then, of course, if it's something that should go to a different agency altogether, we'll be able to take a look at what would fall underneath that here. So IC3, of course, is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And it's C3 because it's 3 C's here. Government is not that creative, but whatever. We bless God for them. All right, so moving along. The IC3 focuses on collecting cyber-enabled crime. And I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to make myself smaller. And this is bigger. All right, so IC3 focuses on collecting cyber-enabled crime. Crimes against children should be filed with NCMEC. That's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Other types of crimes, such as threats of terrorism, should be reported at tips.fbi.gov. So there are various agencies and departments that receive these. And I'm going to go to the next tab where there are at least 17 various types of cyber crimes that are identified and investigated. Normally, once they receive the complaint, they look at it to even make sure that it falls within their purview. The FBI, like I said, does not investigate every complaint. Okay. Certain things might just fall within the purview of your local law enforcement. It is important to understand the laws within your state and what should be going to your local law enforcement versus the FBI. All right. So oftentimes, and I've said this before, government agencies work together as well. So it says here, combined with other data, it allows the FBI to investigate reported crimes, track trends and threats, and in some cases, even freeze stolen funds. Just as importantly, IC3 shares reports of crime throughout its vast network of FBI field offices and law enforcement partners, strengthening our nation's collective response both locally and nationally. So, depending on the type of financial crimes involved, if it's something related to tax fraud, tax evasion, that's an automatic indicator that the FBI is more than likely going to work with the IRS, crime investigation unit. And we kind of went over that yesterday when I went over the Michael Madigan sentencing, the former Speaker of the House in Illinois. He's 83 years old. He's gone to prison for 7.5 years. But he caught it coming from the FBI and the IRS. So there are just situations where, especially if it's financially related regarding corruption, if there's any finances that he received that was not even reported to the IRS, or it was fraudulently reported, or there was forged court IRS tax documents even, yeah, the IRS is going to get involved. So whatever the FBI does not string you behind up over, the IRS will get you. They got Al Capone. I mean, he murdered people. So that's kind of how that works. There are other agencies, of course, that the FBI oftentimes work with to help, further their investigation, and they end up, bringing forth an indictment. They're going for 99% conviction right here. All right, even if it leads to a plea deal, they're going to make sure that they get the maximum time out of you that they can. This is kind of how that goes. So let's see here. I'm going to go to the next tab just to kind of go over some of the various types of cyber crimes. This is information on, when I do a Google search, I try to go for what's either on Cornell's law website or Justia, some legal or law group website. This is Sweto Law Group. And they, I think the best way to kind of define this is based on how the law defines it, right? And what you should expect when it comes to any federal agency doing an investigation on a complaint. You need to have a legal understanding of, the types of crimes, the information that they're going to need, and then, just kind of how the overview of the investigation itself is going to proceed forward. The best way to really understand that is looking at it from a legal perspective. So I got this information here from this Sweto Law Group website. You guys can always, Google and research for yourself and check this out. They explain cybercrime is the act of committing a crime using a computer, the internet, mobile device that is connected to the internet, and specialized software such as exploit kits and ransomware. Cybercrimes range from the theft of personal info, such as bank accounts, to the illegal distribution of content, such as music and other material protected by copyright. Even gathering personal information on individuals and releasing that, that's called doxing. That is illegal. Might fall within it does fall within the purview of the FBI. So, if it's typically done electronically over the internet, they see that as interstate, because it's hard to say if this person did this, if they're connected to the internet on a electronic device. It's hard to pinpoint that they did it in a specific location or a specific state that will fall under a specific jurisdiction. So oftentimes the jurisdiction that these types of crimes will fall under would be for the FBI on a national level. Oh, let's see here. The three categories of cybercrime. All right. So you got individual, property, and government. Individual cybercrime is individual personal cybercrime. This is computer crime that are committed against a single individual or person. Examples of individual cybercrime include hacking an email account, steal a person's personal info, sending annoying spam emails to a person's email account, using the person's webcam to spy on them, those sorts of examples. Property, of course, is computer crimes committed against a person's property, such as, hacking into their device, computer, cell phone, whatever. And then you have government. And that, of course, is the internet crimes committed against any level government agency, whether it be a federal, state, or local government entity. Let's see here. Some of the types of cyber crimes they have 17 listed below. There could be more. I'm just going based on what my research here is on this website. AI powered attacks. That is AI-powered cybercrime attacks are a form of cybercrime that utilizes artificial intelligence. Computer vandalism, of course, that's just damaging a person's computer with malicious software. Um, com- Copyright infringement, of course, that is stealing or sharing copyrighted materials without the owner's permission. Something that, YouTube is so annoying right now. Yeah, everything is copyright infringement with them, and it's just annoying. Like, it should not be easy for someone to put a copyright claim on content just because that's kind of what's about to happen right now with UMG. If they are able to buy out all these companies with YouTube and Instagram and all this other stuff, they will have ownership of a lot of music, and what you're going to see is a lot of copyright claims and strikes and takedowns occurring because of UMG, because reasons. Drake, I don't know. Either way, it's idiotic. And YouTube is putting themselves at risk of losing billions of users on their platform. They're annoying. All right. Cross-site scripting, or XSS, is one of the types of internet crime in which a hacker injects malicious code into a website. Cyber harassment. I always say this because it's about looking at the legal definition of harassment itself. Everything is not considered harassment, and we have to be careful with that, not to abuse it. But when it comes to reporting it to the FBI, it needs to be where it is clear-cut in evidence, and you have documentation to show that pattern of behavior where it's intentionally designed to be harassment. Me saying super stupid, it's not harassment. I'm gonna tell you that right now. She might not like it. I have to handle being called the B word. It's funny how the people that keep saying that, they have a problem with me saying super stupid also allow others to call me the B word. I just can't. I don't sit here and tell they're harassing because they call me the B word. Like, oh God, I just learned to get over it. But it is what it is. But if you are reporting cyber harassment or even, use as a form of bullying, it needs to rise to that occasion of what is legally defined to be harassment and bullying, and within the purview of what the FBI will proceed forward with an investigation. Now, we can't deny that was clear cut. Someone is just going in and attacking, talking about they're going to hurt you or harm you or your family or something to that extent. Yes, that's beyond just, someone giving an opinion or, saying, you suck or you're the worst. But yet that's not necessarily harassment. But if it's, oh, you're trying to harm my family, or you trying to dox me, something like that. Yes, those things are different, and that's what you need to be able to prove when you do a complaint for that. So the cyber harassment occurs when a person uses technology to cause someone else stress, often using offensive language or images. Like I said, people calling me the B word. I mean, it depends on how it's used and what it incites, because I try my best to understand that, the difference with free speech versus when it becomes harassing, right? Do I want to see my comments flooded with the B word? No, I don't. But someone calls me that, like calling me the B word, it's like, what is the FBI going to do? I have to think. That's the questions I have to ask myself. Yeah, these one or two content creators keep calling me the B word. Okay. Well, I mean, what are you? I would have to think of how they would go forth with proceeding with an investigation on that, and what type of end result am I reasonably and realistically expecting from that. That's how I go about it. Now, if you feel that it rises to that occasion where it's worthy of an FBI complaint, personally, I would consult with an attorney first. So that you can ensure that you don't want to file a frivolous petition, a complaint either, because then that kind of nullifies the complaint itself. And the FBI will tell you flat out if they're not going to pursue something. They're not going to waste time and money and energy with that. But you want it to be something that will be viable and clear cut. Even if someone, one person calls me that like 4 or 5 different videos, what I have to ask myself, what would the FBI do if I were to report that? So, and then of course, it's the courts that's going to sit down and decide, okay, is this going to be seen as harassment based on the facts and law and the evidence, or is this still protected free speech? That's the questions that I personally ask myself. I don't even, to me, I just ignore the individual. Like, just if they don't exist when I get ready to pay my rent, they don't exist any other time. It's not something I just sit down and hop over. But I just don't like the hypocrisy of people telling me, "Oh, you say super stupid," but yet they're the same ones that let other people say the B word about other women. Like, it's cut that shit out. It's laughable and it's hypocritical. But when it comes to that, we still have to reasonably look at overall, how does this really fall under, with the name call? Does this fall under harassment? There has to be some level of intent to harass. So each state has, different parameters to which, when it comes down to a charge of harassment or bullying. So make sure you're familiar with your own state laws on that. For the state of Georgia, it has to be a repeated pattern of behavior where the intent to harass is there and it's clear cut, right? So I can say that that's the state law here in Georgia, but make sure you're familiar with the state law in your prospective state for harassment and bullying and intimidation and stalking and those types of things, especially online. So that you can ensure that if you have to get to a point where you need to submit an FBI complaint, it's not something that's going to just get pushed back down and then they tell you flat out, hey, you're going to have to report this to your local law enforcement. It needs to rise to that level, to the occasion of it being something that the FBI would handle and take seriously here. So just consider that if you end up having to file a complaint along the lines of cyber harassment. Okay, so cyber typo squatting. Cyber typo squatting is using a website or domain name similar to a person's or company name to dupe people into thinking it is them. Almost like stealing identity. But you have the intent to take their identity or name and then use that to try to get information from the individuals that you're, trying to pull that information from the people you're trying to pull this information from. So it's like the scammers that sit here, and say, "Hey, I'm with Amazon, and we owe you $200 of refund scams. We want to make sure. Can you go on this website and claim your refund?" And then next thing you know, some call center, scam center in India is sitting here talking about get them a Google gift card. But that's how it happens. So just always be cautious of that. If you're not sure, type in the actual URL for the website, as opposed, don't click on links. That's phishing emails. It's phishing scams. But just type in the website, go to the website, or always call the actual customer service number directly to Amazon and go from there. Cyber stalking, often used to describe the act of stalking a person online, such as by repeatedly sending them unwanted messages or using the internet to track their location. I would think that would include, too, going on everybody's YouTube pages or joining their memberships just to sit and watch and monitor them. No one has time for it. We're not in the mood. Cyber terrorism is the act of using the internet to cause harm and damage, often in a way that causes mass panic or fear. Examples of that is including a person using a computer to cause a power outage, such as using a virus or the internet to hack into government database, Denial of service. Cyber attacks are designed to make a website or other online service unavailable or unusable to other users. So, examples would be um, a person using a computer or a botnet to send a large number of requests to a website to overload the servers, and then next thing you know, the server is crashing and the website is not usable. So that would be example of that. The distribution of the child P here and trafficking, that goes to NetMec. Okay, so they have the link there. Make sure you're reporting it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is one of those cyber crimes where it would go to entirely, it would not be filed through the IC3 website. That will go through the NECMEC website. Drive-by attacks, a form of cybercrime in which someone hacks into a website or computer system and then uses that access to launch a series of coordinated cyber attacks against another person or entity without the victim's knowledge. Eavesdropping attacks, because this is a thing. Cyber attacks are the act of secretly monitoring another person's online activities. Because recording someone's member live stream could be eavesdropping. People thought I was playing with that. No, that's not a joke. These cyber attacks often occur through the use of a Trojan or spyware, which is used to intercept a person's online communications, such as through the use of keyloggers and other spyware. I don't care what the hell you're using. No one should be that damn desperate to keep up with anybody to record their members only live stream that is not made available to the general public platform of YouTube. It's just like someone hacking and getting my private video that was never made available to the public. Nope. There is a reasonable expectation of privacy with that. It just is. Please don't make me have to prove that the hard way. All right. Insider threats. Insider cyber attacks are a form of cybercrime in which employees use their access to a company's computer system and other resources to damage or steal from the company. So yeah, someone robs a bank and then comes to find out the bank manager was in on it and they gave the robber access to the vault. Yeah, that's the insider threats here. But they gave the codes, access via email for the bank vault codes, something to that extent. That definitely would be something handled by the FBI. Malware is short for malicious software. So this would be viruses, worms, spyware, and adware. Online libel slander, which is forms of defamation. It's an act of posting false information about another person online with the intent of causing emotional distress or harm. Making fraudulent statements about someone committing a crime is defamation, especially when the information or the statements can be proven to be false. And it's intentional. You're not mistakenly doing that. I don't think it's ever a mistake when someone sits here and alleges that someone has committed a crime by taking money from a government entity, an allegation they will never be able to prove. That's not a mistake. That's intentional. It is often used to describe the posting of false information about a person in a public forum, such as a social media page, with the intent of causing emotional distress to the person, such as the case in the has Aflalo, and then here it's spelled Alfalo. But either way, if you are on this website, you can click this hyperlink here, V. Weiner. This is a case where a lawsuit alleging Florida defamation per se and intentional infliction of emotional distress against Weiner was filed. So, like I said, each state has its own defamation, harassment, bullying laws. Generally, they're the same, but there could be certain nuances to fit certain parameters that would justify the actual charge or the allegation itself. So make sure you are familiar with your state's law on that in the event you decide to file, a lawsuit. And you have, case law here to kind of help you understand how the law is interpreted in that prospective state. Florida defamation per se law might not be the exact same apples to apples as New York or California. which is it still on fire in California? Is there no rest over there? What's going on? Phishing. Phishing is a form of cybercrime in which someone uses the internet to try and trick someone into giving them their login info using a fake website or email. So you don't know where the email came from, or if you think it might be, the scammers out there talking about they work for Amazon. Don't click the link. Just open up a separate internet page, pull up the actual Amazon website and see what's going on. Don't click the link. Ransomware. Ransomware is a form of malware that encrypts a computer or files and then demands payment in exchange for the computer or files to be decrypted. So that's when you click on something, you get this virus, and then it locks your computer or your phone, and it makes you, enter some credit card information or something, or go get a Google Play card. We need a Google Play card, $500 Google Play card, and then somehow that's supposed to magically unlock it. All you have to do is shut your device off and restart it. I would shut it off completely. Let it sit for like 2 minutes. You'll be okay. I know some of us cannot do without our phones. Breathe. It'll be fine. Shut the phone off. Set your laptop off. Let it just give it a minute. Even if you have to unplug the internet cable, unplug the power, just give it a minute. And then reconnect everything, cut it back on. 9 times out of 10, the ransomware will go away. If not, take it somewhere like Geek Squad where someone can remove the virus. But don't put in your credit card information. Don't ever do that. All right. So let's get to the next tab here. This is the complaint itself. Yay. So we're on the Internet Crime Complaint Center website. I started doing this. I just kind of put in some dummy information here. I am going to do one for Novatech FX because I had been reporting and researching on that crypto scam for 1,000 years. Oh man, I got so much information, and I put it up in videos. It's on the playlist, Novatech FX playlist on my channel. But I ended up collecting almost 50 exhibits just from my reporting and research. They profess to have ATM Bitcoin machines registered in another country. It was madness. Just the man, that hole went deep. And they had, of course, scammers and call centers over there in India. That's why I was getting cussed out in Hindi. Yeah, it's crazy. If you go to some of my videos, my earlier videos at that, and go in the comment section, yeah, I got cussed out in Hindi. I had to learn the language to clap back. Yeah, because they mad because you're messing with their money, right? $1.8 billion crypto scam. Yeah, you're messing with a lot of people's money, but it's stolen, so I didn't care, and I kept reporting on it for almost 2 years. So I did an SEC complaint against them. I am going to do one with the FBI. I just wanted to kind of throw some information in here to take you all through the steps. First off, starts out with who is filing the complaint. So you either filing it for yourself on behalf of another individual or organization. So that's what it means by are you the one affected? If you are, yes, that means you're filing it for yourself. No, meaning you're filing on behalf of someone else or a business. Then you put your information in. So I just, of course, put in some just like a dummy complaint here. But I'm going to do a regular one when I get done. So the next step would be the complainant information, right? So details on the possible related to the one affected by this incident. If you are reporting on behalf of a business, include any points of contact at the business. So I put in the Joy Luck Club, y'all. That's kind of like the running theme of the name of my channel. When I was a little girl, I used to read the Joy Luck Club books. Like, I think I read like 15, 16 of them in a series. They had so many books. And I was just a huge fan of the Joy Luck Club books. So when I started the channel, I was like, oh. I started off with music reactions and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, Lady Luck Club. Kind of like Joy Luck Club, but with music. But of course, lady, and just kind of fell in because I'm the queen. All right. So I got the complaining information. Um, you don't have to put the age in. I think that would only be applicable, like I said, if it's dealing with children, that would be done on the NCMEC website anyway. But I wouldn't put in the age. It's not even required. The red asterisk is what's required. So, of course, the name, the address, city, state, zip, phone number, email. If it's a business, I just kind of filled it out as if I'm reporting it on behalf of a business, but you can do it also on behalf of an individual. And the incident is currently impacting business operations. If it's a business, I selected no, but of course, if it's yes, then you would just kind of outline how it's being impacted. Could be a matter where, the business got hit with a malware and now all of their financial information or their financial systems are frozen. You would outline that in the information. Um, if it's a matter where it is affecting people's login information, you would detail that. So, what is the impact of the actual cyber attack or cyber incident itself on that business? And got to be specific with it, okay? That's why I went over the various types of cyber crimes so you can actually name them. So, if it's ransomware or if it's phishing or if it's malware, now you can actually list each cyber crime specifically when you're doing this incident complaint. So it didn't change when I selected yes or no, but either way, make sure you fill this out here. And then the next step, is there any loss of money? So of course, Novatech FX is a Ponzi scheme. They took in money through high yield investment packages, through crypto, like real crypto. People had to purchase crypto and all this stuff because they claimed that they were, trading crypto on behalf of their investors. And then you would put down the amount. If yes, what's the total loss? So I just put in just a standard amount, 20,000. And then the transaction. If there are multiple transactions, list each transaction. I don't know if there's a limit on the transactions you can add on, but you can add on transactions. So you would add on transaction for each transaction. So let's say if you did 4 transactions to Novatech FX, you would list all 4 transactions and exactly how that money was given to them. I just selected cryptocurrency because that was a crypto scam, but it could have been the matter where you gave someone a check, debit card, money order, peer-to-peer transfer, like Cash App or Zelle, prepaid card, gift card, wire transfer. So those are the transaction types, and then you will list each one, the date of the transaction, the amount. Did you contact your bank, financial institution, or cryptocurrency exchange platform? So if you have a legitimate platform you're using to trade crypto, did you notify them the type of crypto? Because it's crypto selected, it's going to ask about the information pertaining to that. Now, there's no asterisks here, so you're not required to do it, but I would be cautious of it. You only put down what you feel comfortable with listing here, okay? Like I said, Novatech proclaimed to have Bitcoin machines. So if you went to a ATM Bitcoin machine, whatever, you would list the address and the information here, city, state, regarding that machine. And then of course, e-wallets. I don't deal with crypto, so I would treat that information like a bank account number. If you wouldn't list your bank account number, might not want to list your e-wallet address. So I would only put that down if I know that the FBI is proceeding with the complaint and going to actually launch an investigation. And then at that point, I would not put it on the website. I probably would just kind of directly give it to the investigator and go from there. So be cautious of what information you list. If you're not comfortable with it, remember there's no red asterisk. It's not required. But if you want to be thorough, maybe use wisdom and maybe wait till the complaint turns into an investigation and then give it directly to the investigator once it gets to a point where they absolutely need that information. That's how I would handle it. All right, moving on to the next step. Information about the subjects. So who are the people that, you know, committed the act, right? The subject could be the business or the individual. If it's an organization, let's say it's the CEO, then it's like a manager and two team leads or something like that. You want to list all of them separately, you can. So you would give as much information as you have. If it was, you know, something done on a website platform or like YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, you would list their website or their page. Um, I don't know who knows people's IP addresses, but if you have that information, you know, go for it to go. You can add subjects here as well. I don't know if there's a maximum number of subjects you can add on, and it doesn't say. So I would say, you know, at the very least, most people are not going to list like 50 different subjects. They're going to just, if it's a business, they're going to list definitely the business and maybe the CEO or the president or whoever the leader is. You know, if there are a couple people that you know are directly involved within that organization or business, I would list them as well. But I would list the ones that you have enough information on that could more than likely help point to their level of culpability to where it would be almost undeniable that they had something to do with it. So I wouldn't just list subjects just to list them. Because what you don't want to do, like I said, is sit here and nullify the complaint by putting in information that might not be helpful to you getting an investigation for it. So just list the subjects that you feel and you're assured and you have some information, evidence, exhibit, something to show this person is directly linked and involved in the incident itself. That's how we'll go about doing that. All right. Next step, once you've gotten all the subjects in, now here's where you do a description of the incident. Make sure this is red asterisk, so you have to do it. I think the maximum number of characters is 5,000. Yeah, 5,000. So I have like 3,407 left. I just put in something here. But the meat and potatoes of the incident is what you want to put outline here. So if you have to type it up somewhere else to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of the incident, how it occurred, like try not to be repetitive. You've already listed the subject, so you don't need to list the subject's information all over again because it's a waste of characters. Just put maybe the subject's name and then the date, time of the incident, you know, this post on Instagram, recruiting individuals to Novatech pyramid scheme. I purchased this package on this date and time. This recruiter stated I would be guaranteed 3-4% every week. Like you want to be direct with it. So you don't have to attach the evidence here. You just want to give the incident and describe what happened. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you have to see an example of it, I would type and look up, you know, example of description of incidents for FBI complaint and go from there. That way you can, it's 5,000 characters. So you want to be direct and get to the meat and potatoes of the incident itself. You don't want to add in extra information that they can easily see on the previous pages. All right. So being direct is going to be key. Being verbose and wordy and repetitive does not help. It's just my 2 cents. Next step. Here's where you have the opportunity to provide other information. Of course, don't put in any personal identifying information. Don't put your social security number, date of birth in there. That's not necessary. Or anyone else's for that matter. You don't want to get this rejected because you got personal identifiable information in this. No one needs to see anybody's social security number or date of birth. So just add the information that's listed here that will be helpful and would add on to the complaint itself. Once again, try not to be repetitive. You only get so many characters. So this is 5,000 characters. If you're providing additional technical details regarding the incident, this can include email headers, cryptocurrency transaction metadata, ransomware hashes, those types of things. Added here. Are there any other witnesses or persons affected by this incident? So of course, if they were not listed as a subject, or you didn't list the person, like let's say you did this on behalf of an individual, but there are two other witnesses that may have saw or been a part of the incident itself, here's the opportunity to list that individual. I wouldn't put too much information about them, maybe just their, name and email address, information that the FBI could use to contact them if they needed to. You only get 1,000 characters, so make sure, you just put the pertinent information that's necessary. If you have reported this incident to other law enforcement or government agencies, then this is where you will put that information here. So if I were doing this, of course, for real, this is just a test. But if I was just going through the process, I filed an SEC complaint against Novatech FX. I would put that information here. The only thing I will be cautious on is if there's current litigation. Like if you have a lawsuit against someone, and you got a matter that's going on in the court of law. Let's say you've been doxxed, you want a protection order. Like you want to talk to your attorney first. What you don't want is a matter like that's already being pursued in the court of law to then go to the FBI before that matter in court concludes. So that's not something, I'm not an attorney. I would just ask my attorney, get some advice from your attorney if I were you, and you got a litigation that's current and pending in court, and go from there. Even if you filed a lawsuit on a matter where you want to file a complaint to the FBI on, I would probably ask an attorney, okay, seeing that this matter has concluded, depending on how it was resolved, if you negotiated or if judgment was granted against the defendant, or if the case was just dismissed, I will still ask an attorney what would be the best course of action. But if they say, hey, yeah, go ahead, if you got additional information to provide that was certainly not addressed in the lawsuit, in the court proceeding, then yeah, you can say, hey, file the complaint against this individual. Here's the case number with the Fulton County Superior Court, however, and you can just kind of give some brief information. You only get 1,000 characters, so don't be verbose or wordy. For me, if I filed this against Novatech, I would just put in the SEC complaint, the date and time, the case number, and the agency information. And if I had a point of contact, so I will put their name and information, the email in there, and then that would be the most that I would do, because they're going to reach out to that agency's point of contact and ask about this complaint. So they're going to get the information from that agency, and agencies work together all the time, y'all. So they're going to do the due process, reach out to the SEC and ask about my complaint with them. They already have the case number. I got like 50 exhibits sitting over there with the SEC on Novatech FX. So those are the things that'll be shared from the SEC, and they give case updates and stuff like that, and work together on that. So is this an update to a previously filed complaint? You can update these complaints. Same thing with SEC. I had to kind of do my complaint with the SEC was 2-part, because I could only attach 25 exhibits at a time. I had 50. So I had to go and do a secondary update to the initial complaint to attach the remaining exhibits that I had. So you can go back in and update this complaint if you needed to. All right. So if it's an update, of course you would say like yes. If this is an initial complaint, no. All right. And then of course the last step, privacy and signature. So you do understand that you're doing this, it's supposed to be with good intentions. Make sure you have, you understand the consequences. And if you lie, let me just put it like that. Do not lie to the FBI. It just kind of, especially if you're doing this on behalf of someone else, it just ruins it. All right. And it gives off the impression to the FBI you're not taking this seriously. So there could be real lives and, hurt and harmed, through these cyber crimes. You don't want to just file something frivolous. You want to file it, and you want to make sure that it's thorough. You have adequate information to substantiate it, and it is something that the FBI can indeed address and resolve and investigate. It falls within their purview, and if there's multiple people affected, what you don't want to do is go off making false statements or just throwing out accusations, but you can't really substantiate it, or it doesn't really align to being that cyber attack that you're alleging here. All right. Very serious matter. I would only do something like this if, like with Novatech FX, not because somebody called me the B word. I would never do that. I wouldn't do that. Either way, this is the end here, and you would just type out your name, and understand you are making this true and accurate to the best of your knowledge, and that providing false information, you guys see it here, could make me subject to fine, imprisonment, or both, because it's called perjury. So please be very honest and direct. If you don't know, just state don't recall, or NA, especially if it's a box that is required with an asterisk to fill out. If it's optional and you don't have the information you need, just don't fill it out. All right. So that's the end of this. You guys enjoyed that? Coming up on 46 good minutes of this, and I literally tried to go as fast as I could with this, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood the steps to be able to file an FBI complaint. This is specifically for cybercrimes with IC3 website. Make sure that you look at the information and file the complaint to the appropriate agency. If it's not supposed to go to IC3, make sure it goes to the correct agency that it is supposed to go to. I would personally say if it's anything related to minors, send that to NCMEC first, and then let them tell you, oh no, that should go to IC3. But do not don't file a complaint regarding children to IC3. Send that over to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children first. And then if they don't handle that, if it doesn't fall within their purview, then they'll direct you to the correct agency. That's if it's anything related to minors, 17 and under, right? All right. That's all I got, y'all. I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you so much for, the support. Hit the like button and share. And I'm sure many will have questions. If you do, give me some time to get to your comments and questions, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. But until the next one, Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.